Welcome to another study session of the book Think and Grow Rich. Today we're on page 4 and 5 and we're going to talk about persistence and the importance of not quitting 3 feet from gold. Not quitting prematurely when everything seems to be not going our way. So, the story goes that the Darbys found a gold mine and they started mining the gold from the gold mine and they mined a lot of gold. But then eventually the vein of gold stopped. And then they kept drilling and drilling and drilling and they lost the vein of gold. It was gone. And so what they did was they said, oh well, they gave up. The drills went up, they covered up the mine, and they went on their way. Now, they sold the machinery to a junk man for a few $100s and took the train back home. The junk man called a mining engineer to look at the mine and do a little calculating. The engineer advised that the project had failed because the owners were not familiar with fault lines. His calculations showed that the vein would be found just 3 feet from where the Darbys had stopped drilling. The junk man took millions of dollars in ore from the mine because he knew enough to seek expert counsel before giving up. So, here are a few lessons. Number 1, the engineer advised that the owners were not familiar with fault lines. That can be kind of symbolic to us. When you are trying to achieve something very hard, you need to be familiar that you will be met with temporary defeat, okay? But the mistake a lot of people make is they think that temporary defeat is actually permanent. So you need to look at temporary defeat as a fault line and keep going, because beyond that fault line, you are going to rediscover the vein of gold if you just keep going forward. So let's continue reading. More than 500 of the most successful men this country has ever known told the author their greatest success came just one step beyond the point at which defeat had overtaken them. Failure is a trickster with a keen sense of irony and cunning. It takes great delight in tripping one when success is almost within reach. So keep in mind, your success is going to come one step after your failure. So don't give up 3 feet from gold. Keep going. Again, we say their greatest success came just one step beyond the point at which defeat had overtaken them. So 500 of the most successful men in America told this author that their greatest success came right after one of their defeats. So keep that in mind. Now, in order for us to keep going despite defeat, we need the quality of persistence. And so, this moves us on to a 50-cent lesson in persistence. I love this story. This story will show you that no doesn't necessarily mean no. One afternoon, Mr. Darby was helping his uncle grind wheat in an old-fashioned mill. The uncle operated a large farm on which a number of colored sharecrop farmers lived. Quietly, the door was opened and a small colored child, the daughter of a tenant, walked in and took her place near the door. The uncle looked up, saw the child, and barked roughly at her. "What do you want?" Meekly, the child replied, "My mammy say she need 50 cents. "I'll not do it," the uncle retorted. "Now run on home." "Yes, sir," the child replied, but she did not move. The uncle went ahead with his work, so busily engaged that he did not pay attention to the child to observe that she did not leave. When he looked up and saw her still standing there, he yelled at her, "I told you go on home, now go, or I'll take a switch to you." The little girl said, "Yes, sir," but she didn't budge. The uncle dropped a sack of grain he was about to pour into the mill hopper, picked up a barrel stave, and started toward the child with an expression on his face that indicated trouble. Darby held his breath. He was certain he was about to witness an assault. He knew his uncle had a fierce temper. When the uncle reached the spot where the child was standing, she quickly stepped forward one step, looked up at his eyes, and screamed at the top of her voice, "My mommy's gotta have that 15 cents!" The uncle stopped, looked at her for a moment, and then slowly laid the barrel stave on the floor, put his hand in his pocket, took out $50, and gave it to her. The child took the money and slowly backed towards the door, never taking her eyes off the man whom she had just conquered. How was it that a child was able to master an adult person? How did she do it? What happened to his uncle that caused him to lose his fierceness and become as docile as a lamb? What strange power did this child use that made her master of the situation? The answer is that this child had a mixture of a definite decision to get the 50 cents and the persistence to see it through. So the lesson for us today is that great power can be accessed when a man attaches himself to a definite decision, does not budge from that decision regardless of the opposition, and then persists forward regardless of the obstacles and challenges that come his way. So it is your job to be like that child, to have the definiteness of purpose, no option to quit, and the persistence and perseverance to keep going forward towards what you want. Make sure that in your life, you never stop 3 feet from gold, and make sure also that when obstacles arise, you keep moving forward. You do not retreat, and you do not go back on your definite decision. A definite decision means a decision that does not change. I will get this come hell or high water, not I will get this if things go my way. A definite decision means I will get this despite of every obstacle that comes my way. So that's our study lesson today from the book Think and Grow Rich. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notifications icon to join me for more study lessons on the book Think and Grow Rich. Take care.